that you're doing to take care of yourself, like the routines, the tracking, the habits, the goals, is taking you further away from your goals. Because what if that's not what you need? So let's say that you wake up early, you make the green smoothie, you squeeze in your workout, you listen to a podcast while you're folding the laundry, you have a long list, you check off all the boxes, you stay busy, and yet at the end of the day, you're exhausted and still feeling unfulfilled. Hello, my name is Fran Llamas. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a professional athlete, and I hold a degree in psychology. And this is episode 2 of this series. It is a space I created for women and men who are tired of performing health. In the first episode, we explore how biology, not motivation, is often what's blocking your consistency. We talked about the gut health, hormones, and the enteric nervous system. And today I want to talk not only about how biology shapes your decisions, but this time how culture is shaping our expectations and how productivity has become very toxic and has led us into abandonment. We live in a society that celebrates overwork and overachievement. And I want to say, especially for women, or maybe because I'm a woman and I'm biased, but we are praised for being superwomen, women who can do it all, women that never complain, that they're always smiling. But let's be honest, behind that smile, there's a burnout, there is anxiety, there is a growing disconnection from the body, because while we're doing all these things, we feel fatigued and unhappy. And we are okay with that because in this culture, doing more is better than doing better. And we often hear that we need to be stronger, that we need to push, that success doesn't come easy. And all of a sudden we buy this idea that, well, if it's supposed to be hard, I'm supposed to be awful while I'm achieving all these things. And what happens when you are doing all the right things, but you still feel like you're falling apart? That is when health becomes performance instead of healing. I really recommend you to watch the first episode. But if you haven't, here's what you need to know. Your body, especially your gut, your entire nervous system, and your hormones play a major role on your energy, on your mood, and your ability to stay consistent. And that is because you cannot override a dysregulated system with another to-do list. And that is why before pushing any further, you have to check with your body. Is even my body in a position to be pushed? And so, in other words, you are probably doing too much from a place that does not consider your biology. And how do you know if your body is actually in a good position to be pushed? Simple. Get your lab work done. See how you're doing. See where your markers are. And that will give you a pretty good idea of how your body's doing and why it's been so challenging to push yourself the way you've been doing. But we often fall into the trap of thinking that if you miss a gym session because you couldn't get out of bed, it's because you're probably lazy or not disciplined enough. So therefore, you feel like you're not trying hard enough and that you're putting just excuses. You know, resting is not failure, and limits are not a sign of weakness. They are just signs of your body trying to communicate with you. But the noise of our culture don't allow us to feel them and to be aware of them. And so when we finally go to the gym, we go through these motions and we feel very disconnected from our bodies. And so we feel this pressure and probably anxiety because we have detached from the very thing that gives life meaning, which is our bodies. We are disconnected from our bodies. I often like to refer to this philosopher, Maurice Merleau-Ponty, who said, "We do not have a body. We are a body." Your body is not something that is separated from you. And through your body is how you experience time, emotions, food, relationships, connection, and joy. So when you ignore it, you are not just ignoring a symptom. You are disconnecting from the very platform where life is lived. And I have mentioned this before, but also Nietzsche said, there is more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. And Spinoza also said, freedom begins when we understand the causes that are shaping us. And that's why I cannot emphasize enough to get some lab work done. I wish we understood a little bit more in this toxic productivity society that we're living in, that success is not only how much you get done, it's how you felt while you were doing it. So we need to ask, did your actions aligned with your capacity? This is not just a soft question, and that is a question that will define if you're actually performing a life or building a life. So when I work with my clients, we don't aim for perfection, as unpopular this may sound, but we do aim for longevity, because at the end, that's what's going to give us the best results. Because if you really think about it, a perfect week won't serve its purpose if the following week you just fall apart and it just leads you into crashing. And if it's not sustainable, it's not successful. And because true success comes when you know yourself deeply enough to know how much you can actually carry and how much is too much. And yes, self-care has become very popular, but also the overachievement. And this is not only about having a perfect body, but also a successful job. And the side hustle has become also very popular. And so we do all these things and we have this long list that, we forget to take care of ourselves. And so that self-knowledge is where discipline becomes gentle, not in a permissive way, but instead coming from a place of understanding. And that is when consistency becomes natural. Because when we treat self-care as another project, not only we lose time, we also lose connection. We lose touch with the things that make us human, and we just end up being burned out. And that is when we start blaming ourselves for not being disciplined enough. And no amount of productivity will fix what this connection creates. So let's shift a little bit. Instead of asking, what can I do more? Ask, what part of me is asking to be heard? Where am I pushing where I should be resting? Do you even know when you're supposed to be resting? And what is it that my body needs to feel in order to feel safe? And the beginning of a different kind of success. And that is the start of real health. In the next episode, we'll go a little deeper into emotional suppression, another big topic, and how unprocessed emotions live in the body and how they shape your energy and your habits. Because obviously you are just not a mind with goals, you're a body with a memory. And that is another starting point. So you don't need to optimize every second of your day. You do not need all the checkboxes checked, but you do need the right ones. We need a life that feels real inside our bodies. A life where rest is not earned, where food is not fear, and where movement is a joy, and where health feels like home, not a competition. And let's not forget that productivity without embodiment is just performance. And I think we deserve more than that. So if this video gave you something to think about, subscribe to the channel, because this series is for women or men who are ready to lead from the body, not from pressure, but from a deep understanding. And if you know someone who's caught on the cycle of doing everything right, but not quite getting there, maybe this person doesn't need another hack or another tip. Maybe that person can benefit from this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.